Canada as a wine destination would be a very good choice, given the diversity of Canada. If one is interested in the great outdoors, exposing themselves to nature, seeing the splendor of the natural world, in addition to enjoying excellent wines, I would certainly recommend Canada. As part of my travels in my job, I make an effort to visit different wine regions of particular countries as well. I find it's a useful way of finding out about the country in which you're living. I've been here for 3 years, and I still don't feel like I fully have appreciated the Viteața Neagră. So in my last year here, I certainly anticipate traveling to more wine regions within Romania and sampling more of those excellent wines that you have here.
Canada is the largest ice wine producer. The grapes for ice wine are harvested in tough conditions. Please tell us the story.
You will find that ice wine is very particular. Thick-skinned grapes. You have the white varieties would be Vidal or Riesling, even Gewürztraminer as well. You can grow ice wine. The conditions are very particular, as I mentioned. The temperature has to be between -8 and -10. So the grapes are frozen solid. They're hand-picked and pressed to the point where what you get is very condensed, very concentrated, with a nice balance between acidity and sugars. Ice wine is also known to be a great way to end a meal, for example, during a dessert course. One of the things that's important to keep in mind when serving ice wine, though, is that the ice wine must be sweeter than the dessert. Because if the dessert is more sweet, it'll actually render the flavor and some of the unique qualities of an ice wine redundant within the context of a dessert. But it can go well with a foie gras, berries as well. But it's an excellent way to end a meal, either on its own or paired with a dessert, as I mentioned. And I think our number one export in terms of the wine industry would certainly be ice wine.
How did wine production start in your country?
As you may know, Canada is a cool climate country. Therefore, we have a number of diverse microclimates from coast to coast. And as it turns out, over the last 2 decades, there's been an explosive growth in Canadian wine production and export. Canada is much more than just ice wine. We have a number of varieties. And looking at the history and development of the wine industry in Canada, you will find that a number of the grape varieties have origins within Europe, of course. They're a thick-skinned variety. But given the number of microclimates, we've found that we can grow a wide variety of high-quality grape varieties, which lead to high-quality wines. We have very fertile soil. We have a moderate and long growing season. The summers are very sunny, just enough rain to grow excellent grapes as well. You'll find that each region from British Columbia, which is on the west coast, all the way through Ontario, as far east as Quebec and even Newfoundland, where I'm from, have their own distinct grape varieties. The growth, as I mentioned, has been quite impressive. Since 2011 to 2015, it's grown by 33%, which is rather impressive. It's even more impressive if you think about the fact that most people don't even know that Canada grows wine. But as a diplomat, anytime I have an event, a dinner, a lunch, or a reception, I make an effort to serve Canadian wines. And I find that adds a nice element to an evening. It's a nice talking point, and also it promotes my country. And it also speaks to the great diversity of Canada, which is also an important element of the wine story in Canada as well.
Why Canada should be the next wine destination?
That's a good question. And I think Canada as a wine destination would be a very good choice, given the diversity of Canada. Canada, we have 6 time zones, and of course many bodies of water, mountain ranges, coastal regions, and each one of these microclimates, in many cases, produce their own unique style of wine. So if one is interested in the great outdoors, exposing themselves to nature, seeing the splendor of the natural world, in addition to enjoying excellent wines, I would certainly recommend Canada.
Top 5 Canadian wines you would recommend?
Instead of naming particular brands or wineries, I can tell you that there are certain varieties that we grow, I think, very well in Canada that the world is now starting to find out about. For example, in terms of whites, a Chardonnay, Riesling, Gewürztraminer, a Pinot Gris as well. And so in terms of whites, those are the ones I would recommend. In terms of red varieties, we're looking at more of a Cabernet Franc or a Pinot Noir or a Merlot, Syrah to a certain extent as well, which is growing. So you can see that we have a variety, and we're certainly increasing our capacity for producing high quality wines, not only for domestic market, but we're breaking into different regions around the world as well.
The major vineyards in your country.
Well, I'd be happy to show you on a larger map over here where some of the most important wine regions are in Canada. Well, here we are, the map of Canada. As you can see, a very big country, 6 time zones, and now I'll show you a few of the wine producing regions. Starting with the west coast of British Columbia, one of the most famous wine producing regions would be the Okanagan region, which is over here. It's very close to the American border as well. But moving across the country, we have another very famous wine producing region, which is the Niagara region, which has Niagara Falls, of course, which is very famous. So that is located down here. And in fact, all throughout the southern part of Ontario, you'll have a number of very good wine producing regions that produce high quality wines. Now, lesser known wines, even further to the east within Canada, in Nova Scotia, produce a fair amount of wine, and even in Newfoundland and Labrador, which is where I'm from, produce wines that are based mostly in berries as well. So it's a different kind of wine, but as you can see, the country is very big, and we have many diverse microclimates with different mountain regions, lots of rivers, fertile soils, which produce a very unique blend and variety of Canadian wines.
Are you a wine collector?
Yes, I think I am a wine collector. I mean, I wouldn't classify myself, I wouldn't dare to call myself an expert by any stretch, but I certainly appreciate the diversity of wines. And as part of my travels in my job, I make an effort to visit different wine regions of particular countries as well. I find it's a useful way of finding out about the country in which you're living. I mean, as a diplomat, I'm posted to a country between 2 and 4 years, and it's important to get out of the capital to get a full appreciation of the country that you're living in, which is certainly the case in Romania, or we also cover relations with the Republic of Moldova. So I've had the opportunity to visit a number of wineries and appreciate the diversity of wine in this region as well. In some ways, the wine industry in Romania and in this region, generally speaking, is similar to Canada in the diversity of wines that are available. I enjoy more heavier wines, full body wines, and within the context of Viteața Neagră, I think there are a number of excellent wines here in Romania.
The first glass of wine in your life?
That's a good question. I think, without knowing exactly when my first glass of wine was something that was served with a Christmas dinner with family and friends, of course. And I would say probably my earliest memory of a glass of wine would probably be a sparkling wine called Baby Duck, which wasn't the highest end of wine, but it was something that when it was close to my placemat, I felt more like an adult, I suppose. So at that time, I didn't sample it, but I certainly appreciated how wine can turn a regular dinner into more of an event.
Your favorite type of wine?
My favorite type of wine has been Cabernet Sauvignon, but I'm starting to explore more of the Syrah or Shiraz, depending on the location. As I mentioned, I like red wine most often. However, a full-bodied, heavier wine is what I prefer.
Do you have a favorite Romanian wine?
Yes, I would say the Viteața Neagră. That's definitely my favorite. It's more of there's such a diversity within that grape variety that I've been here for 3 years, and I still don't feel like I fully have appreciated the Viteața Neagră. So in my last year here, I certainly anticipate traveling to more wine regions within Romania and sampling more of those excellent wines that you have here.
If you own a vineyard, what slogan would you choose to promote your wine?
What slogan would I have if I had my own vineyard? That's a good one. I mean, in fact, I'm halfway through my career, so it's funny you should ask, because I wouldn't mind having my own vineyard once I retire. I would say if I had my own vineyard, the slogan would be perhaps where you find the best pairing. Excellent wine and good friends. Sănătate și voie bună!